I think really a lot of the answer that came through on the first question would answer. These questions are remarkable. They're really right exactly at the core of all of what all of us are trying to do. I love what Master said about bite off more than you can chew and chew it. And I understand that he was inviting us, and I think this is important, this clarity which just came to me. I feel like he just said, but say this, you need to tell them, because I haven't thought of this any time I've read that, but I really feel like he's tapping, don't forget this, that what he's saying is stretch yourself. He's saying don't get complacent on the path, don't get lazy, and it's easy to do that, but he's not saying put everything in your mouth that's on the plate at the same time and try and chew it, He's not saying to do that. He's saying bite off more than you now know that you can comfortably chew. And this is a very important distinction, because if we're trying to do too much, we will have that feeling that you described so beautifully. The roadblocks are many. I mean, that probably comes up in, I don't know how many of Swami Kriyananda's songs. It's simply the truth, but it's like working out. It's exactly like working out in any way that we do it. And if you've been trying to work out and you can't, don't use this as the example then. But every time we work out, if we just keep lifting 5 pounds of weight because we know it's easy, we're not going to reach our goal. If we just walk 1 mile a day, which may be perfect for many people, it's always just exactly what they can do without hurting themselves. So it doesn't matter what I'm choosing. But if we get to the point where we can become unconscious about what we're doing, we're not stretching ourselves, we're not expanding, we're not growing. So I would say find one way to challenge yourself each day. All those things that you listed are wonderful. They're all necessary. But tell yourself, I'm going to find a moment in the day that's challenging me, or a person, or whatever, and I'm going to say, right now, even-minded and cheerful. Even-minded and cheerful. I have too much to do, I'm feeling anxious. Just for a moment, I'm going to be even-minded and cheerful, and be that. Allow yourself to relax into your heart. Make yourself smile physically, literally, make yourself smile. Energy shifts. Energy is so subtle, and it will change with the least little bit of effort. And again, I feel this so deeply, and it's I want to say I know it in a deep place, and it's hard to put it into words other than to just say it and know it's the truth. The least little bit of a shift in our energy is much more transforming than our minds will let us imagine. I hope that makes sense, because it's the truth. So I want to say it again. The least little shift, that willingness when you feel you cannot meditate anymore, and the mind or your effort, the spiritual effort, says, you can. Sit for 2 minutes and look right into Master's eyes, just for 2 more minutes. Feel his love. Feel his desire to enter you and to help you. You'll sit for 2 minutes, and it may feel long, but if you do it, that shift in energy is more transformational than our minds will let us imagine. We don't know. When I was teaching a class on right attitude some months ago, my sort of research took me to one of the last chapters in the Raja Yoga book. Some of you who took that class on the essentials heard me say this, but boy, is it worth repeating. In there, where he's talking about the astral spine, and he's describing Kundalini, which is all of everything that's holding us in a place of ego, worldliness, all of the stuff that we always talk about, everything that's not yet allowing us to be spiritually free, which is a lot. It's coiled up in this, in essence, a ball of energy. It's fine to think of it that way, sitting at the base of our astral spine, right at the base of the essence of who we are, right in that place that was first manifested when we decided to choose a human body. That energy came down, and from that, we became who we are. Now, we now think of ourselves as what we see as what we get. No, there's all this energy waiting to be released. And of course, all of our practices, every single practice that's been given to us begins to show us how to release the hold that Maya has on us in the form of that energy. Every practice, energization, even when we pray, and I do it, I get lazy sometimes, praying, you can't see probably, but with my hands in my lap. No, when we do this mudra, when we pray, we are guiding energy up, and we need to do that. Otherwise, it's tamasic not to. So we led a class one time on all of our practices that lead to Kriya Yoga and why we do each one of them. Now, of course, I'm not going to talk about every one of them. Most of us here know what they are. But each one of them is designed to help us begin to free energy till we get to Kriya, which is, as some great saint said, the most powerful technique ever given to man, which with self-effort can free us. It's still a technique, but it can free us. Now, I said all of that because what Swami said is that energy that's sitting there, when you think a good thought, and I said this, imagine it like a ball of the tiniest little strings that you can imagine. Maybe they're not even visible to the human eye, all curled up like this. And you do a good deed. You think a good thought about somebody. You realize in a moment that you don't want to be angry, that you're going to love them exactly as they are, that you'll see God in them once in a day. And then just the littlest bit of that energy breaks free and starts moving up the astral spine. And as it does that, it begins to work on the chakras that are holding the energy and sending it out into the world. And the chakras begin very slowly, in essence, to unfold so that the energy can all flow. And then at some point, that Kundalini power in a subtle form is all released. And then we're free. Or part of it's released. And we find it so much easier just to see the divine in people and to love them. It doesn't mean it's not hard in a moment, or that people still don't have personalities and we have to transcend all of that. But every little effort, Swamiji said it, you can read it in the first chapter on spiritual anatomy, very clearly in the Raja Yoga book. everything, every act that looks towards the divine, every time we move to the light and resist the darkness, just the next little bit of energy until, we find ourselves genuinely loving everybody. Genuinely. Doesn't mean they love us back. I can tell you from personal experience. But it's so much more easy to just feel them heart to heart, to find that willpower that we're searching and searching for with our ego, that I'm going to do this. Suddenly, the willingness, the willpower, what is this power flowing through my form, is one of the lines in the chant we did when we opened the meditation. Could it be other than divine? That's the chant. Of course not. So that power that is spiritual power, that is the essence of who we are, that is God's power flowing through us, it's suddenly easy. We have the willpower to do everything we want to do. We have the energy, because we are energy. But we get there sometimes, one tiny step at a time. And it's hard to not be impatient, but it's worth it. And it's hard to quit saying the obstacles are so many. They are, but we won't see them that way. We'll see them the way that this little sign that I have at home that I bought when I was probably 13 years old. The difference between a stumbling block and a stepping stone is how we use it. It's truth. That's the way those obstacles are. Every challenge takes us to the precipice of freedom. Very meaningful, important lessons. So.